And we should be live shortly. Okay. All right, so I brought this session together to discuss Flash going end of life in 2017 and start trying to plan around the issues that would have for all Ubuntu users. Or really, it's all Linux Firefox users, really. There's 4 options now that have been presented. Really is make Flash not relevant by then. Use the Chromium browser and with PPAPI Flash from Google Chrome. We default to some other compatible Flash alternative, and the last one that was just added to the public pad was a project that's trying to add PPAPI Flash support to Firefox. So those are the 4 different sort of strategies. They're not mutually exclusive. We can approach a bunch of them, but I just wanted to start out with that.
Sorry for this. One question I just need to get out of the way quickly because I have another session I should be at is there is also the Ubuntu web browser app. Why aren't we focusing on that specifically, or should we? A question was actually brought up to Mark Shuttleworth, and he said, you know, there's no explicit plan to replace Firefox with a web browser app, but that all sort of depends on, I presume, how good it is.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, we aren't making a decision about the browsers here. We're just talking about the various plugins that use the programming interface to the web browsers. So Firefox uses the old Netscape plugin API, and Chromium has abandoned the Netscape plugin API and uses a different API, and they do not work even closely in the same way. I hope that the new web browser that we are bringing online supports both for a little bit, but the old Netscape plugin API is not very good, and hopefully it'll die and plug up many security problems. So the new web browser that we are working on, I don't know anything about it, and I don't think we want to address what we should do with it in this session.
And it's going to be an issue regardless for Firefox users on Ubuntu. Regardless of if we switch to that by default, a lot of users are still going to want to use Firefox, and it's going to be an issue for them. With the other new browser, I'm not sure if it supports either plugin architecture, as Chad was saying, but I believe it is based off Chromium or Qt, the Qt web framework. And if it's really designed for mobile, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes not supporting any plugins, like most mobile browsers. So,
yeah, I don't know what I don't know either what framework it is using, but I suggest maybe one of the solutions that end of life is coming up. If we can make sure that at least our web browser app is working. Not my area of expertise. It's something you've been working on, but it might be something practical to look into. Anyways, do have to go, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
If you can stick around a moment, we will have maybe an answer. Just a moment. Chris Coulson should be arriving soon. I think he's here. Okay. So Chris, I don't know if you're following along. Someone just asked about the new web browser that we are working on, and what plugin interfaces it should support, and what it should do about the Flash plugins.
Okay, so the short answer currently is none, because the Pepper API is implemented as part of Chrome, the browser, rather than in the content layer, which is what we're using. There is some work to make that supportable, but it requires re-implementing most of the Pepper interfaces. So that will work on desktop. Obviously on mobile it won't work because there isn't a Flash plugin for ARM.
Right.
Just for the other points, the adding Pepper support in Firefox is a non-starter. I mean, that has been continuously rejected by Mozilla. It's a significant amount of work to implement an interface that is Chrome specific. It's simply not going to happen, especially when they're pushing for plugins to die completely. That's the goal, really. They're not going to spend months working on supporting a plugin when they don't need to. I mean, remember that the old Flash plugin is still supported on other platforms anyway. It is.
Part of my ignorance, but does Flash work on the Ubuntu Touch right now? Like, if I went to YouTube, would I be able to watch a video on like the Nexus 4?
You can, but there's no Flash.
Yeah.
There's no ARM Flash plugin. There isn't, and there won't be.
YouTube's just
yes, you can use
HTML5.
YouTube. Yeah, so it kind of looks like we're looking for a solution for a problem that doesn't really exist. I mean, the importance of Flash is in terminal decline. By 2017, when the old plugin becomes unsupported, it's going to be even less important than it is now. I mean, we can probably think of a dozen reasons to why we might want to switch browsers, but because of Flash isn't one of them. It's not.
My default would be to try to hasten the demise of Flash, but I think for a lot of users,
which is the do nothing option.
I think if we do nothing, we're going to be caught in a bad spot for a lot of other platforms which still have Flash. So.
Yeah, but by doing something, you're slowing down the demise of Flash.
I'm not saying my proposal. I think we could look at all of these, but my big one would be. If you see in the notepad, I listed a few bugs to making YouTube HTML5 the default, what they're blocking upstream in Mozilla.
But it is already. It is already, apart from a small number of videos. I'm pretty sure it is already.
It is on Chromium or Chrome, but Firefox doesn't implement all of the extensions needed.
Okay, I mean, I use YouTube frequently in Firefox without Flash, and I haven't come across any videos yet.
What's that in chat? So if it's not important, why are we looking at trying to implement PPAPI in the Ubuntu browser?
So there are still some cases where it's used, but those are minimal and decreasing. I should point out that even though there is work going on to implement support for it, it's currently very low priority. It's not something that we're really pushing for.
Okay.
When I think of Flash, I think the only website that comes to mind that's explicitly like that is homestarrunner.com. So.
That is also one of the ones that came to my mind.
In fact, they are actually making new cartoons now, which is interesting.
Well, ever since the Apple people have neglected to to use their new iOS to support Flash. It's been in it's sort of become a second-class citizen. So I don't think we will be a great influence either way on the demise of Flash, and I will be happy to see it die. But for the next couple of months, we can at least hobble along. So by 2017, I don't think it'll be a great band. So
no, they won't. I agree.
I think Chris is right. The do nothing option will probably be the best for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if like I said, I know there's people that do want to switch browsers, and we can probably think of a lot of reasons why that might be a good idea. But we shouldn't be pushing the idea that we'd want to switch or make a big technical decision like that because of Flash. I mean, that would give a big stick for some of our critics as well.
Right. That's the answer I'm happy with. I don't think it can be totally do nothing. If you can run Firefox nightly, or as you were saying, run a browser, even if it's Chrome with Flash disabled, I think you can help find the pain points for users.
Yeah. I run it without Flash anyway. I don't have Flash installed, except for when I'm testing it. I install it to test it, but yeah, other than that, I don't use it.
Is that fellow still developing Gnash? Is that still an active project?
I don't know.
That
never really worked for me anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's... It certainly hasn't been really super active. There have been recent commits, but it's not been where it was back in the day.
It did work, just not very well. So.
Well, with Firefox, I recently tried a Flash Player plugin, which is still a community project, and recently I'm currently using it as a daily basis and works without trouble. There are just few small bugs. So probably, from a community point of view, from user's point of view, the best thing to do is just to provide a way to install this way to use the PPAPI plugin with Firefox, which is enough for most of the users, I think.
Sorry, I missed some of that because you broke up a little bit.
Sorry?
I missed some of that because it broke up a little bit.
Oh yeah, I guess I've made problems probably. So using there is this project Flash Player plugin, which is basically a wrapper to get the PPAPI to Firefox plugin.
Okay, yeah. The problem is that involves loading basically Chromium into Firefox. Which isn't. I mean, we used to have a wrapper for making the 32-bit Flash plugin work on 64-bit, and that was a disaster. It was a constant source of problems.
I know. I'm currently using that for daily. And works better than the native Flash. Really use less CPU and.
Ouch.
I'm guessing that Mozilla would probably not smile very happily at us if we did that anyway.
Yeah, I mean they're quite clear. They want plugins to die. I mean, we used to have a plugin installer interface in Firefox, or Mozilla did, and we modified that to enable to make it easy to install plugins. But they've actually just removed all of that functionality from Firefox. They consider it legacy.
All right, I'm happy to. So would our decision be let's go down that path and say plugins are legacy, I'm totally happy for that to be our outcome of this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what will break if we don't start supporting Flash? Is it just going to be homestarrender.com?
It's going to be other websites. There are some random websites that will use it for like copy paste, for uploading files. Random, mostly older designed like restaurant websites might not load, but most of them haven't been fixed up to load on an iPhone or Android device either. So it's still on. I was looking at W3 Tech's market share. It's still on somewhere in the neighborhood of 12% of websites, which is by and far the biggest of the plugins. Everything else is on like 0.02% of websites. But it is declining steadily. But yeah, users will probably still notice if we got rid of it today.
Is the language itself still under development?
Yeah, Adobe's running with it. I don't know why, because they sort of feel like there's on one hand they're killing it off, on the other hand they're still developing it. There are people who use Pipelight. It was originally for running Silverlight on Firefox. They're using that now to run newer versions of Adobe Flash using Wine, basically to get some of those other features. I think some video sites might use it. I think like maybe Hulu Plus. I'm not sure. I don't use any of them, but I've heard reports that some new video sites do use new features in Adobe Flash that aren't in the Firefox version. So the Firefox version got stopped at 11.2. I think they're at 11.5 or 6 now. So we're already falling behind in Firefox. But
Are there languages
the
that,
Pepper version is like 15.
15?
15, yeah, something like that.
All right.
And of course the versions don't mean anything. They could just call it 42, and
Right.
we wouldn't. So one thing that I'm ready to sort of announce, I guess, is that Adobe has given us permission officially to distribute the Flash players. I've made it. I've packaged up the Flash player, so there'll be a single package now that actually installs the plugins into the right place, and that'll be our way of having it installed and supportable in the very near future. That'll be in the partners repository. So that would include both the NP API and the PP API plugins in a single package. No installer or anything like that. No going to a command line to install. So very soon we will have a real supportable package.
Awesome.
At least until 2017 for NP API. It'll probably also contain the PP API even past that.
So what was the last part about PPAPI? Well, it's called Pepper.
Sorry, yeah, the Pepper plugin will continue past that, 2017. I'm just saying this package will contain the Netscape interface up until whenever they kill it. So we get an official view from Adobe whenever they distribute it out to the world. We get it in a tarball. Here you go. Please package it.
Cool.
do you think it would ever come to the point where, you know, you say that they're still developing Flash, right, and they're still making new versions, right? Nobody wants to support it, so will it ultimately fall upon them to start supporting their plugins? Do you think that they might see that as an option, that now we need to dedicate some developers? And would they have an avenue to do that if they wanted to do it on Ubuntu?
Are you asking if Adobe is going to send people to the Mozilla project to keep Firefox?
Yeah, I mean, it's plausible, right? Because nobody wants to support them anymore. So
maybe I suspect they're just tired of. I don't know anything about it, but I suspect the old code base that came from the Netscape days. It's the first version. It's probably not written very well, and they just cannot continue to update it. It's just probably a big ball of crud, and it's probably a nightmare to support.
That's what they are updating on Windows and Mac. So
at least on Windows and Mac, the version numbers are pretty much in parity with the Chromium version. So I think they made some big switch at some point.
Right. Okay.
But they haven't done that for the Linux versions.
Right. Okay. Cool.
So is our plan that for Netscape plugin interface, we're going to say plugins are just deprecated and we don't want to, we're going to follow Firefox's policy of trying to avoid supporting them as much as we can? Because there are some things that that we will hopefully still support that are part of that ecosystem, like Java plugins. That's still important. People don't use Chromium right now because there are no Java plugins. And if they expect to go to a website that uses Java, they can't do it. So they go back to Firefox. So,
well, Firefox hasn't announced when they're actually going to remove the Netscape API. So I don't think we have to make a hard and fast decision about that right now. But a lot of the other plugins are going away anyway. Like I know that Totem used to have plugins, and they're gone, and some other plugins are going away anyway. So I think we can make that our policy if you want. But we can leave accessing Java in Firefox, because if we get rid of that, a lot of old like server remote BIOS things, they no longer work.
Right.
So.
Okay. So, is there anything for us to do to put on a to-do list? It sounds like our big decision here is
I think we can. I put it in the notes, and there's a bunch of we can test Firefox nightly and Firefox either directly from Mozilla or from the Mozilla PPA, and just help get YouTube to HTML5 video. There was a proposal I made back in the day about making Flash click to play, and to try to push deprecating it further. Mozilla didn't accept it at this point. They wanted to wait until Flash got below a certain level and YouTube actually worked without Flash in Firefox. So those are the blockers from my point of view. If anyone has any other ideas of what to do to try to push Flash away, obviously not running Flash is a good start.
Well,
but yeah.
One thing we could do, I've never run across a video that's explicitly using Flash now on YouTube, but say it perhaps happens. We could. I remember the way that the Flash plugin used to work is they used to actually download the FLV, and then you would just install it to your or it'd be on your computer, and then you just run that, right? Could we do something with, say, the YouTube DL tool or something? Pie in the sky. I don't know.
So I didn't quite follow that last part.
Okay, so are there videos on YouTube? Do we have a test case where we can say that because we don't have Flash, this video will not run?
Try playing a video, this Hangout, right after it posts. It'll only be available in, if you try to play it with Firefox Nightly, it'll only be available in H.264, which Firefox Nightly won't have because of the GStreamer bug I mentioned in the other one. If you try
Firefox has support for H.264 out of the box now. All releases. It downloads the Cisco Open H.264 plugin.
Maybe I need to.
GStreamer. Yeah, it's been like it is. It's in the current stable release. It is.
I'm
Yeah.
running nightly, and I don't actually.
Okay. No, it's out of the box.
And it doesn't
when you
on YouTube though.
okay.
Huh.
It's working okay here. When you start Firefox in a fresh profile, it downloads the actual H.264 plugin.
Okay, so you're saying that should be. Okay. So then the only other thing would really be MS.
We're looking for examples of videos that will not play without Flash, right?
Right.
Yes.
And then everyone started playing YouTube videos.
So let's instead of doing this, let's assume we find one. What is the outcome? What is your question about it?
Well, I was suggesting, let's say that this theoretical mythical beast of a YouTube video exists where we cannot actually play it. The one alternative I can think of is to utilize the YouTube DL tool. It's like a Python script or something like that. Downloads YouTube video onto your computer, and then you just play the actual container from your computer.
I think someone looked into that way back in the day when YouTube was it was going to be something in Totem or something like that, but it got canned. I think because HTML5 was pushing fast. I think that's really where we're going, and that should be able to handle all the use cases pretty soon. If not, it's just some misconfiguration on my browser, and it should be working here. I don't know. I mean, obviously that's the better option. But assuming YouTube does work pretty much flawlessly, all videos. Aside from trying to make Flash, would we be willing to make Flash click to play, regardless of what Mozilla or Chrome does?
It is already. It's been click to play for a while.
Flash is not click to play for Mozilla.
Really? Okay.
No. They don't want to change that yet.
Really? I'm surprised because when I install it here, if I install it and then go to something that does use Flash, it asks me to click on it.
Using a fresh profile?
Yeah.
I mean, I asked them 3 months ago if they would do that, and they said no. So, unless they've really done an about face.
Okay, well, I'm gonna. Sorry, I was gonna try to grab the tail end of another session here, so
Sure.
I will bid you farewell.
Okay. Thank you. Take care. Regardless of what Mozilla is doing right this second with that, would we be willing to make? What would we think about trying to make it click to play on Chromium, even with the the Pepper API?
It's what I do for my own personal profile. I don't have a strong opinion about it, other than it's not seamless anymore, and yeah, I don't want to put any burden on our users. I don't expect Flash to stop working for Chromium and I'm not sure we should try crippling Flash in any way on Chromium just because Netscape will stop. The Netscape interface is dying.
Well, I guess that's a question to ask: is do we want to see the end of Flash and all plugins, or do we just want to see the end of the Netscape API?
If I had a magic wand, I would it would disappear. But I don't think we have the power to end Flash. I don't even think we could make a dent in hastening its demise.
Okay. And we're not seeing many stability issues in the Pepper API on Chromium. There would be no performance reason to do that, like on Firefox. I know with the Netscape API, you load a site with lots of Flash, you can sometimes have issues. That's gone in Pepper with Chromium.
Well, Flash never works brilliantly, but I don't see many problems.
Okay.
I think largely when you see a problem, it's likely that it's a problem with is that you're running a program written by someone who is not necessarily a wonderful programmer. So Flash is not a video system. It is a runtime for any program written. And sometimes those are not very good programs. Yes, we see problems, but I don't think it's anything we can solve or avoid.
I can't answer the click-to-play thing in Firefox on my fresh profile because I can't find anything that uses Flash. Has anybody got a link?
Homestar Runner.
Hey, we
Go to
already
Homestar Runner.
Already won.
What's that?
Homestar Runner.
Okay, hold on a second.
Yeah. That's the new Flash test case. We get them to move, half the internet moves with them. I don't know. I'm assuming away from Flash, that would be hilarious. Oops, it doesn't load for me. All right. Well, I think discussion sort of ended, unless anyone has anything else to add.
No, don't think so.
I think. Well, your question was, should we make it click to play on Firefox? Flash.
Sure it is. And we can't just modify Firefox anyway.
And so Chris's answer is no.
Okay.
But I think it is already. It's just that for some reason it's actually not working at all for me on a fresh profile.
Just Flash isn't working?
No plugins at all. The plugin process crashes on startup. So I'm not sure.
So assuming that it is not, if it's already click to play, I think there's nothing else we can do.
Yeah. I haven't changed any settings on nightly, and it's click to play there. So,
If
and it has
you
been
could,
for the last probably 9 months at least. Quite a while. It's certainly been a long time anyway. It has.
how do you even see the defaults for that anymore?
I know I did originally change it when they first implemented the support for it.
All right. Well, I'll take that as an action item to test it out. If that is the case, then I think there is nothing we can do. If to hasten its demise at all. If it is not, then the big thing would be to test YouTube and to if it's already working flash free at this point, then I've got something wrong with my browser, and I should ping back to that thread. The excuse me. My original proposal to Mozilla was to just start having Flash be click to play if there's more than 5 Flash objects on the page, and then to push it down from there, and that way they can convince the ad sites to stop serving Flash. But obviously, if they've already gone ahead and done that, then that's totally redundant. So, cool.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still not sure about whether it is or not. But in any case, we can't change it. So.
Okay.
It is on my system, and it has been for a while. But I don't know whether that's because I've changed something. So.
Yeah, they changed how you configure it. Now they have it per it used to be just the click to play and about config, and now it's per plugin. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, to summarize, Flash should go away. We're going to not take any huge action. And we now have an official package from Adobe, which is really exciting for Flash and PPAPI for Netscape and Pepper APIs. All right. So, Chris, do you want to still try to figure this out before the session ends, or?
Okay, so it isn't click to play by default,
Okay.
but you do have the option of blocking it. So yeah, I think Flash is the one that's whitelisted.
Sorry, what do you mean is it sort of an aggressive blocking interface, or is it just you can just block it from the little plugin icon?
That's right. Yeah, there's a on the URL bar you can block it.
Okay.
Okay, so I must have changed it on my nightly profile then, because it's blocked on every site.
Okay, so yeah, that's the one thing. If anyone's watching is interested, or the one thing to do is to try to push Mozilla to be more aggressive on this, and we're not going to try to do anything ourselves to push away from Flash. Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you, everybody.
Okay. Cheers.
Are we good, or?
I think
okay,
so. Yeah.
cheers. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.